Susan Beth, and you are listening to the She Is podcast, where we talk about living life intentionally and about trusting that the desires you have deep within you are there for a reason. I believe that the creator of the universe put those desires within you and that they are pathways to your purpose. My desire is that this would be a space that encourages you to lean in and to hear the whispers of the divine, and that you would be reminded of things that I honestly believe you already know. That you, my friend, are here for a reason. So if you're here for more conversations in that kind of space, welcome. Let's go. Happy November. I am so glad that you're here listening today. And the day I'm recording is actually November 1st, the morning of. And I've got to say, it feels amazing outside. We've had some warmer days. We had a little cooler weather that felt amazing a few weeks ago. Then it kind of left and it's back. So I'm sure it won't last forever, but I am going to enjoy it while it's here. So I have my sweater on and yeah, it felt so good this morning. So if you are moving through the seasonal journal with the calendar weeks, then you, like me, started week 6. And when I saw week 6, I was like, and maybe you had this realization too, of like, oh, wow, we are almost halfway through the season of autumn. And I want to say that it feels like this year has gone by quick, and I'm kind of surprised by that. But when I started to think that it's moved by fast, I would think back to things that I've experienced this year, and I feel like this year's held a lot. And so, and some of those things seem like a long time away. I mean, a long time ago. So I can't say that I felt like it's flown by, but I will say it does feel kind of surreal to be starting the month of November, but I'm here for it. And I hope you are too. So I thought that it would be fun to kick off the month of November with setting some intention, because as you know, moving through these next couple months, closing out the year, as beautiful moments that they can hold for all of us, it can get kind of crazy and life feels just kind of different and fast, and lots of emotions from different events that go on. And so it holds a lot. These next 2 months hold a lot of potential for lots of joy, but also it can bring up lots of feelings of loss too, because as we move through life, we all experience both of those. And we're going to gather with family and with friends, and they're going to be people that aren't at the table for different reasons. I mean, maybe they're just no longer a part of our life, or maybe they have left this physical life that we are now living. And so for whatever reason, this season can bring up some hard stuff right along with the joy and the beauty that is there for all of us to experience. So I was thinking, how can we not move through this month, but start off this month and actually this next couple months, but we'll focus on November because that's what we're starting. But set some intention. And since November is the 11th month of the year, I thought maybe I would throw out 11 ideas that maybe you'd like to join me in being intentional about as we move through this next month. So the first thing I was thinking about was our expectations, being intentional about our expectations. And I've talked about expectations before, and because I realized years ago that expectations were something that I really needed to adjust my thinking on, because I had the tendency to envision this perfect circumstance, this perfect conversation, this perfect event, whatever the situation might be. I always envisioned the perfect outcome. And as we know, life is life, which means none of those things went exactly as I envisioned. So as I would be working towards something, I would be working and putting all my energy and hard work with that that vision in my mind of this perfect outcome. And then my worn out self would feel so defeated when the end result wasn't perfect. I mean, it didn't live up to this expectation that I had in my mind. And I had to realize that life is not perfect, and it's always going to happen in and through our most perfectly laid out plans. And so what I come to realize is that that's not always a bad thing. In fact, it's most often a gift that we weren't expecting. But when we are so focused on what did or didn't happen according to our plan, then we miss the gift that life is offering us in that moment. And if it isn't a gift, if it actually isn't a gift, whatever's happened, then it's an opportunity for us to grow. So my point is that it's a waste of our energy and our time to focus on what could feel disappointing to us, because more than likely, it's not something that's necessarily overall negative that hasn't panned out like you thought it was going to. It's just not what you had planned, and it's not what you envisioned or how you thought things were going to go. But when we can be open to life unfolding and trusting God to lead us in our life, which hopefully that's what we're doing, then I personally have found that even when things might not unfold like I thought they would, that I can still be intentional about finding and living out the good that is unfolding in the moment. So, expectations, I wanted to start with that one because I think it's huge, and it possibly might, I think it has the ability to affect all of the other things. And I think it holds almost the greatest key to us walking through November with a greater joy. So I'll say that. So managing our expectations is a huge thing. So that's why that's number one. The second thing that we can be intentional about is taking care of ourselves. And I think this is also at the top of the list because I think in this season that can be so busy, and we can get so caught up in all the things that we feel like need to happen and that we need to take care of, and all the extra events. It's easy for us to kind of slide out of our normal rhythms of the way we eat and the way we do live our life and take care of ourselves. So I think we have to really be intentional moving into this month and in this season of, yes, we want to enjoy the season and partake and enjoy, some things that maybe we don't, in and out of our normal weeks, eat or drink, but we don't need to totally go off the other direction. So we need to make healthy choices because that affects how we're going to show up through this. We want to enjoy this time. And when we do put things that are not good for us in our bodies, it affects us. I mean, maybe it doesn't you, but it does me. It affects me in every way when I am eating things that are not nourishing me. And I just think that I have found that when I have my mindset already set in place, then I'm more than likely not going to make a lot of unhealthy choices because I've already made up my mind and I have prepared myself. So that's one thing in taking care of yourself, and then moving your body. And I think this goes with the other. I think when we have extra things going on that aren't necessarily part of our normal days and weeks, that then we kind of get out of our normal rhythms. So it might be different. You might not be taking a walk at the time you might normally take a walk, but moving your body is so important, right up there with the food of that. We're meant to eat things that nourish us, and we are meant to move our body. So get out there and move your body. Hopefully, well, even if you live somewhere, that's cool. Bundle up and don't forget to move your body during this time. And the third thing that we can look at of being intentional about in this month is being present. There's going to be a lot of things going on that might be different than our normal calendar would hold. And that can be overwhelming. It can make us tired. It can add a lot. You're adding things to your plate when a lot of people already live a busy, full life. So let's be intentional about being present. And maybe you don't need to say yes to all the invites. So you can be present to the things that you really want to be present for. So wherever you are, be there. Be present in that moment with those people at that event, in that conversation, whatever it is, be present. And that sounds obvious, but we all know we can go places and not be present. So let's be intentional about being present in our lives. Number 4, breathing. We need to be intentional about breathing. And some of you might be thinking, well, yeah, because if we're not breathing, then we're dead. But what I'm talking about, and I'm not going to go into this here. For one, I'm not ultra knowledgeable in this. I mean, I've read and listened to lots of things about it. So I have a little bit of insight, but it's like, I don't even want to go there. So that's my place. You can Google, look up stuff, whatever, if that's something like that you want to know more about why I'm even mentioning this. But breathing is a big thing that, yes, we're breathing and we're staying alive, but breathing properly, which most of us don't do, and I'll speak for myself, that I don't primarily do most of the time, that I'm trying to be more intentional about. It really affects a lot of our life. And I mean, I've heard different people talk about it in the last few years, but I'm trying to learn more about that, because when I stop and really focus on taking deep breaths, and let me say this, I have always felt like I kind of not struggled, I wouldn't say that. We're supposed to be breathing through our nose more. I'll just say that. And that is not something I do. And that affects, our thinking. It affects the oxygen, everything getting into our body, which is helping how we function. And so I've had some experiences where I have intentionally been breathing, and I was telling somebody, like, after this happened, I was like amazed. I was getting ready to do something, and I just stopped and took some time to take like deep breaths. I mean, and actually breathing like we're supposed to breathe. I mean, breathing it in and then slowly. And y'all, it was like the freakiest feeling. And I say freaky just because I felt it do something to my nervous system and my body and my mind, and it was amazing. So that is something I am learning more about and can see how helpful it can be to us. So I added that in. So like I said, I mean, Google it and do your own research. And I'm sure a lot of you hearing this are like, yeah, I've been hearing about that, and I know what you're talking about, and I see the benefits in it. But I wanted to mention it because, like I've said, when it's even more important when we're moving through life faster in a busier season. So I want to encourage you to take time to breathe. And I'm saying Google it and find out. I mean, it doesn't have to be something you have to study and learn, although there's definitely things that I wasn't even aware of how we are not always breathing correctly. And there are ways that we can actually stop and breathe for a few minutes that will affect our health. So that's what I'm talking about. Take some time. I mean, you can be dry. I do it in my car. Like, you can drive, like stop at a red light. And it's like if my mind's racing, or, like, oh, I got, I'm feeling a little frazzled of maybe things that I need to get done and things like that. It's of stopping and just taking some deep breaths. And it's amazing how it can affect us. So breathing, number 4, breathing. Number 5 kind of goes along with us in some ways. Number 5 is pray. Pray. And I talk about this a lot with just life and the journal and the being still and knowing. I mean, prayer is a huge thing. And I think that people can be scared of prayer and praying and thinking it has to be done in this super spiritual way that they are intimidated by. And it is spiritual and it's sacred and it is all of the things that make us feel intimidated, but it was never intended. And it's not an intimidating, it's not ever something we should be intimidated to do. It is connecting with our Creator, and we were created to do that. So it should be a natural impulse in our life, a natural rhythm in our life, and something that, even though there might be times that are set apart and are, moments more of consecration and praying and done in a certain way, absolutely. But we should be communicating and praying in and out through our day. And so I just want to encourage you with that. Number 5, let's be intentional about praying and connecting to our Creator in and out of our day. Because when we get busy, then it can be something that we're like, oh, I need to do that, but I'm not going to do that. And then it doesn't get done. And then you're going to move this whole month busy. And then December is going to start and you're going to be like, oh, wow, miss praying, miss connecting with God. So number 5, let's pray. Let's connect with our Creator. He's there anytime we're wanting to pray and connect. He is with us and He desires to speak to us. So pray. Number 6, do something that you've thought about starting, but you're thinking you're going to wait and start at the new year. Okay. So let me explain. It was probably like 5 or 6 years ago. It was I think it was like 100 Days Stronger is what it was called. I realized there was 100 days left in the year. And I was like, what if we close out this year? So I actually, it was like a little campaign thing I did. And a lot of you listening probably did it with me, but it's like, I loved it. And it was like, I sent something out every day. And the whole mindset around that was, let's move into the new year already setting up the foundation of the things and the rhythms we want in our life, that we're not waiting till January 1st to start something. We're already implementing those things to become stronger in our body, soul, and our mind and our spirit. And it really did make a difference. And actually, even though I haven't done that, and actually we might do that again, because every year I think about that, I'm like, why don't we do that? But I will say, ever since I did that focus that year, I kind of lived to that. And I can tell I'm moving to my new year differently, where before it's kind of like, okay, you let loose in November, December. And then it's like, okay, now I got to pull everything back together as we start this new year and get focused. And I don't feel like I'm moving to the new year like that anymore. It's kind of like I'm already gearing up and getting stronger in all of these areas, which goes back to some of the other things I've already touched on. I feel like I move through the holidays differently. I actually either maintain or actually lose weight the past few years during the holidays, which is crazy, but it is because it's because of what we talked about. I'm more intentional. And so I will indulge and eat things I don't typically eat, but because I know I'm going to do that, it's like I'm almost more intentional through my week than I might be normally when I know there's not a party coming up or something like that. So it is very much about where we're setting our attention and being focused on our choices and how we want to live. So what is something that you've thought, okay, this is something I want to incorporate in my life. I want to do this more. I want to walk more. I want to make sure I do a morning walk, or I want to walk after dinner, a way you're wanting to add in about moving your body. Or I don't want to spend so much time on my phone. And then, but it's like we think, okay, just like sometimes a Monday, how we might think about a Monday or a new month, like we're starting right now, we tend to do that then with the new year. I mean, that's the big one. It's like we're starting a new year. But how about we move into that new year already laying a foundation and, getting some strength around that muscle, around that thing that you're wanting to implement. So number 6, do something. Maybe go ahead and start something that you've thought about waiting until the new year to start. Okay. Number 7, intentionality around taking some tech breaks. Okay, most of us I know are walking around with a phone in our pocket or purse or somewhere close to us. And this season, more than ever, we need tech breaks. I mean, we need them all the time. I mean, I know I was gonna say maybe it's me, but I know it is all of us that need tech breaks. We were not designed to hold all of the information that comes at us all of the time. And I mean, I think we are all different of how that affects us. And so we just have to know ourselves. But for me personally, I know when it's like you need to put the phone like away to where it's not right there, because as you know, most of us are probably addicted. And when our phone is close to us, before we even know it, we are opening up an app. We're checking something and then like, oh, how did I even get here? Because we have done it so much that we don't even have to think about it. So put the phone, I mean, it doesn't have to be right there with you. I mean, I have had to figure out what are some ways for me to be aware if there's an emergency or somebody's trying to contact me that I don't physically have to be checking my phone. And that's important. It's important for our health in every way. I mean, spiritually, emotionally, and physically, because those things all affect our physical life. So take some tech breaks. I mean, maybe it's just after a certain time at night. That's what I do. A lot of times I have it where it's like, for the most part, I mean, there's times that I vary with that, but for the most part, it's like I shut down at a certain time of like, I'm not going on, I'm not scrolling, I'm not checking to see what's going on. And because it's like my brain and my mind needs to stop, and it's not going to stop if I'm still giving it these shots of stuff. So number 7 is being intentional about taking tech breaks. Number 8, intentionality about living your life and not living in comparison to others. This season can be the worst of looking, and this ties right into what we just talked about, why the tech breaks can be so important. But this season can be the worst of scrolling and looking at somebody else's life and comparing your life to theirs. And we all can do it. We all can do that. And I hope that I think we all know this, but still, when we're maybe not in the best headspace, we can still think this. Life is life for everyone. So I want to remind you this. Life is life for everyone. So it doesn't matter what post you're seeing. That person's experiencing life. And you don't need to compare your life to theirs, because even though the picture you might be seeing looks amazing and it looks fun and it looks like they don't have a care in the world, they do. They do. So don't judge. Don't judge. Everybody's living life. And here's the thing. We need to celebrate. I mean, sometimes it's like we can get aggravated of like, like, why are they posting that? But it's like, you know what? We need to celebrate. I mean, life is hard for everybody. And everybody needs to find the joy in their life. You know what? So maybe they've had a horrible week and they are hanging out with their friends, or they are hanging out with their family, and they are feeling some joy in their life. You know what? Let them feel the joy, celebrate, like their post, and say, oh, wow, y'all all look amazing. And I'm so glad that you had this time together. And because if you judge it and you feel, but then that's even worse for you. Like, you're judging somebody else, and that's not making anything better for your life. So we need to remember, as during this time, we are seeing other people living out their life, that they all have stuff too, that they're working through, that they're moving through. And we all need to show more love and kindness and less judgment, because everybody is walking out their journey. And when we judge others, we bring that back on ourselves. So live your life instead of scrolling or looking or hearing about. So even if you're not on social media, or hearing about something else that's going on and feeling, either left out out, or who do they think they are, or comparison of, I wish I had that. Instead of letting yourself go in those places, what do you have? What do you have? What is in your life right now that you're not taking advantage of? What relationships do you have that you're not taking advantage of? What friendships do you have in your life that you're not taking advantage of? That instead of reaching out or making a plan, you're sitting and complaining and judging others. So number 8, being intentional about living your life and not living in comparison to others. Somebody else's life isn't necessarily going to make you happy. What somebody else is doing, you know what? And a lot of times you don't even want to be doing what they're doing. You're looking at it, you're like, you don't even want to be doing that. So live your life. What do you desire? What makes you happy? What relationships do you want in your life? What brings you joy? Do that. Do that. Not what everybody else is doing necessarily, but what do you want to do? Live your life and not in comparison to other people's life around you. Number 9, let's be intentional about seeing those around us. What I mean by that is sometimes if we are in the same groups or, even with our family or anywhere we go often or something that's familiar, we stop seeing the people around us as we should because we're familiar with the people and the personalities and the different dynamics. So I want to remind us to be intentional about seeing those that are around us for who they are. You know what? They could have changed since you first became friends with them. Do you see that? Or are you still in the relationship like it was when you were in junior high? People change, people grow. Do you see that? And this takes some intention. It takes some intention to not live on autopilot and not respond the way we've always responded, and to embrace when people do change and to recognize those changes and see the beauty in those changes, because hopefully it is beautiful growth that even though that growth might challenge us a little bit because it's different and we're used to the dynamics in that relationship, it doesn't mean it's a negative thing. So maybe we're missing something that will even help us grow and grow the relationship, but because it's not the way it was, we're refusing to see it. So see those around you. See those around you. And maybe that comes from when you're being intentional about that you're going to experience some things, in this season that you might not have, because you're going to be open in conversations and in questions and listening and hearing, to getting to know those around you maybe in a different way, just because you hadn't taken the time to hear and to really see those around you. So that's number 9, seeing those around you. Number 10, say the thing. Say the thing. We keep so many things in our head and in our mind all the time. Say the thing. Say the thing. What are we waiting for? I mean, that could go a negative way. Sometimes probably shouldn't say the thing. But a lot of the times, we need to say the thing. It's something good. It's something positive. It's something that we think, like, that's weird if I say that. Or that's obvious, I shouldn't say that. Or they know that, so I shouldn't say that. You know what? Even if they know it, say it. Even if you think it's something obvious or weird, say it. Because I think, I think we don't say things because we think, oh, how will that come across? Or that's weird, or why would I say that? So that does keep us. But then I think a lot of times we don't say the thing because we think, well, I'm not going to say it now. And you just keep it in your brain, like, I'll say it another time, or I'll share it in another way, or I'll get around to telling them that. And you don't. We don't. So say the thing. say the thing that needs to be said, because if it popped in your mind, and this goes back to what I said on one of the other things to be intentional about, if we are people that truly believe that we are being led by the Spirit of God, that when things pop into our head that line up with love and truth and kindness and encouraging others to good works, then we need to say the thing. We need to say the thing. We need to encourage those that we are seeing around us. And our words encourage people. And you know what? Even if it does feel a little awkward, I've said so many things to people that have popped in my mind, and I've been like, I'm going to say the thing. And I have felt awkward. You know why? And I could tell they felt awkward. And you know why? Because people aren't used to people saying the thing. They're used to people thinking it and not saying it. And so it's like we almost don't know how to respond when somebody says the truth to us. So when you are with somebody and you're seeing them, and something comes to your mind that would be encouraging and speaking truth to that person, don't let the enemy intimidate you and make you fearful. Say the thing. Number 11, the last thing, is be thankful. Let's be intentional about being thankful. That's the season we're in. And so it's a little easier for us to focus on that because we see it as we walk through the stores, printed on plates, printed on shirts and napkins and all the stuff of thankful, grateful, all the things. But just because it's printed on the plate that we're going to eat off of, doesn't mean that we are being intentional about being thankful from our heart. So that's what I want to end with today. Let's be intentional about being thankful. Let's not just talk about being thankful. Let's just not think about it. Let's not just plan a dinner around it. Let's be thankful. Even if we don't do any of those other things, you don't buy the plate that says, I'm thankful. You don't plan the party. You don't plan the Friendsgiving. But instead, you're going to be thankful. Right where you're at with yourself, you're going to be thankful. And you know what? Your thankful list might look different than mine. And that's okay. But we all have something to be thankful for. I'm thankful for starting a new month. I'm thankful that you're here listening to this. I'm thankful for a God that is holding the season in his hand for each of us, not just the ones that you might think are extra special. He's holding all of us that are looking to him and are trusting him. He's right there. He's right here to walk through every day of November with us. And I'm thankful for that. I love you guys, and we'll talk soon.
Hey, you. Thanks for listening. And if you would like to connect more, head over to SusanBeth.com and sign up, and you will be one of the first to find out about anything new. Plus, there's a special free download available just to say thanks. If something in this episode did speak to you, would you do me a favor and share it with a friend that you think it might resonate with as well? And until next time, keep showing up in the world just as God purposed you to do, because you being you is exactly what we all need.
Production of Amplify Life Media.